Oh, boom. I guess I'm in my eye. I think I am live. All right. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late, but I got something kind of cool I'm going to do here. So, can everybody hear me? I want to thank everybody for being here. That's in the chat. Genocide, Feng Shui Susan, Sunfire Goddess, Tamara, thank you. Cyber Blister, thank you all for being here. Can everybody hear me? Am I live? Joyce Hartman, thank you for being here. Can everybody hear me? Yes, Genocide. Okay, thank you. Y'all know I'll forever suffer from trauma when it concerning people not being able to hear me or see me during one of these lives. So I just want to make sure everybody can see and hear me. So thank you for that. I want to thank you all for being here. Sorry, I had a scheduling conflict today that made me push this back a few hours, but I appreciate you all being here. And I think this will be an interesting one, that this is going to be something that's a little bit more about maybe connecting dots than it is me sitting here and going everything verbatim, like everything verbatim about the Gugwe, everything verbatim about the devil monkey. These are things that most people that are in these chats or with me are going to probably know something about. So to be more about, I think, maybe connecting the dots on some of this, all right? And getting familiar with it, but like I said, connecting more dots and bringing more together about it, and maybe just adding some things. Now, I've got a number of videos. I was going to put it up here probably as we're going through the show here. I'll put it up onto the chat here, but I've got them already set up on my other browser so that I can link you all to videos. There are some videos I've done over the Gugwe, some videos that my friend Jessica has done that is remote viewing Gugwe's, remote viewing Old Green Eyes, and also remote viewing something that she has called the zombie bear. So these are some things that we're going to be talking about and kind of putting all this together. All right, and as we go through it, there'll be some pictures I'll bring up. It will probably be slow fashion as usual. A few, some of them just a representation of what the Gugwe actually looks like and why I kind of wanted to bring this together with the devil monkey. And, I think this goes into these labs and some other things that's really happening on this planet. And people are just wanting to call it pseudoscience in a way that dismiss what the actual native population has experienced. That's a real problem right now when it comes to verification and also acknowledgement of cryptids or just the whole phenomenon itself, especially when it starts tying into the conscious event. So hopefully everybody's getting checked in here. Let me look through. Bigfoot Dwarf, what's happening? How you doing? Thank you for being here. Virgo Blue, thank you for being here. Allison Almeida, Alamala, thank you for being here. Good to see you again, as always. Yes, my friend, always. Did you go to the Conscious Life Expo this year? So that's always a very interesting place. Again, I thank everybody for being here. So I have a treat for everybody. I don't fully know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure out how to work this, all right? And what it is I want to go over this, but I have a partner that I've done a lot of work with that knows as more probably about the Gugwe and the Genoskwa and things than I do. And I'm going to go ahead and actually bring her up. Okay, she's been very gracious and agreed to come here and help me do this while I fumble through this thing, but I'm getting a little bit better. So that's my friend Jessica Jones, everyone that is familiar with her.
Hey, Barry.
Oh, there it is. What's up, Jessica?
Hey, Barry. I'm so proud of you. You pulled me up.
I got to tell you, this is crazy. I feel like a fish out of water right now because it's like complete reverse situations for us right now. And I'm totally unaccustomed to it. You know what I mean? But I guess it's another small step for mankind, right?
Yes, it is. It is. Can I before we get the show started, I see some people asking in the chat. Eric is okay, y'all. We've located where Eric is. I don't have any details, but he's okay. Okay. So thank you. Everybody's in the chat. I saw that. And Barry, thank you so much for having me. Man, one of my favorite topics are Gugwe. Okay. And these devil monkeys, man.
Thanks for coming on. Secondly, or first of all, it's a pleasure. It's fun to be here, and this is so different. And thanks for helping with the time adjustment. I ran some conflicts earlier with the time. I think maybe starting off, something that's just real simple is like, what is the difference between a Gugwe and a Genoskwa? And how would you know if you were to see one? What would you look for to see what's the differences? And from the limited understanding I have, is that one, the Gugwe, which looks more like a type 3 Bigfoot, and I'll bring that picture up here in a minute, but with the snout, okay, the type 3 Bigfoot. And the Genoskwa is more of almost Sasquatch related in terms of has more, almost looks like a primate type of a mouth. And also the size. They say that the Gugwe is usually between no more than 10, 12 feet tall. And the Genoskwa were 20 feet tall and more. And they're also the ones that were known as the stone giants, correct? That would wrap themselves up in sap and then in sand and stuff and become impervious to the war arrowheads of different tribes and stuff, right? It probably didn't work against gunpowder, but not as much, but for that. So that's just, I think it's interesting, when looking at some of the differences in that. And I know somebody that really put, I believe was Genoskwa on the map what's that guy's name? Duke from Bigfoot.
World Bigfoot Radio.
Yeah. He was the main cat who was talking about that. And what I'd heard, and I think he was representing one, that picture he has, and I've got that on there too. I mean, I'll pull all this stuff up, but looking like the jaws were like almost like a cage, the teeth. Oh, yeah. So and they're the ones though, but it's the Genoskwa. They're also known as the Gugwe is known as the face eater, correct?
It is.
Yeah. And just tying this together for everybody before I start fumbling through these plastic pictures. Okay. Reason why I'm bringing the devil monkey into this is because it too has the baboon type of a snout. And when you really start looking into like the stories about the Gugwe, the further back you go, the older stories, when it first started getting reported and things, it was said often, it looks like a baboon. Some type of a baboon. And that takes us into what I think is Diplodocus, which is the giant baboon that's in our fossil record. I've got some pictures of that too. So that connection there is interesting. But then as time has gone on, now I'm hearing more of the Gugwe being described as bear-like, man bear, and things like that. And so I think that takes us into some of the work that you've done concerning the zombie bear, and also some of the research you've done looking into the Yellowstone and the Gugwe of the fog, and also old Green Eyes, who, interesting enough, came up with the body collector, right?
Galactic body part trader.
And that's so odd when someone had told me that that's what dogmen were. That they were a species of bounty hunters for body parts, and they were traders. We talked about that a little bit. This is one of the whistleblowers that told me that, and I don't know if it's true or false, but I mean, it was very interesting to hear it, and then to make the correlation of you saying that. So,
there's a connection, I think.
I'll tell you what. Let me bring this up first, and I think it's one that everybody's already seen, but I think it's just good to go over it for just verification purposes, and that's the types of Sasquatch. And I was watching, I believe it's Matt Squatch. He had done another one about 7 years ago that was the 10 types of Sasquatch, and getting a little bit more technical than this. And it was pretty good, but still we've got a couple that remain. There you go. It's pretty good. I'm hearing an echo.
Anyway, Sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
I did that.
Oh, yeah, don't throw me in a panic. I push the button, and the brother goes into panic. Anyway, but you got that type 3, the snout or muzzle, and this is fascinating because not just baboons, but also like the devil monkey. The devil monkey in some ways reminds me of a mandrill. We'll talk about that more later. And mandrills, if you see any pictures of them, they tend to turn their eyes like reverse when they show their teeth. They're terrifying predators. They say some of them that they can't. I don't think they can take lions, but they'll try to challenge even like lions and things, try to take them down. Yeah. So I mean, it's just very interesting as far as that. And when dealing with this type also, there's there's a video that Thinker Thunker did some years ago, and it was called The Great Outdoors. And it's the one where you've got that what appears to be the individual chasing the caribou.
Oh yeah.
And when he did like other breakdowns of that, when the thing is getting close to the caribou, you see something jump like onto its back from the trees. It appears to be a youth. And mandrills have been seen doing that with their children, like they're jumping on them really fast like that. So I just think it's interesting. We can see, although I'm not saying that, that's what that Sasquatch there was, but when we start dealing with just some of these characteristics that seem to be common, I think it's very, very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
the
yeah.
one that I saw that, because a lot of this stuff came from Matt Squatch, I'm pretty sure. And he'd done like a type. He added a bunch of other categories like the skunk ape, and then another type of one that's the elegant hominid that's like similar to number 4. He was saying a lot of people were trying to dismiss number 4 because it looks so much like type 1. But the difference is that the type 4 has not much hair on the face.
Mm-hmm.
It looks even more human than type 1. But as far as physical stature, they're supposed to be quite similar. So
they are. I always like to compare like the type 4 Sasquatch to a Neanderthal human. It just looks like a caveman basically, with more hair in a lot of instances. So, and that's what I always, back in the 1800s, there were a lot of newspaper articles, Barry, of like wild men reports. And that's kind of how they were characterizing some of these wild men that were being found all over, especially down here in the South. We had like the Ocheesee Pond wild man, the Kentucky wild man. Sometimes they look more Bigfoot. Sometimes they look more like a Neanderthal, like a human.
Mm-hmm. Jessica, that takes us a lot because I know a lot of people are talking because the gentleman Harvey Pratt, he passed away, the police sketch artist guy that works with David Paulides. A lot of those pictures I put a bunch. Just looking at a lot of them. They're all very human looking, and that's the whole big thing of how he was supposed to be able to draw so accurately that the Sasquatch people have seen and how many of them look human. And the further you start going back in the reports, you've seen it too. They're saying that constantly, that not just the tribe and things of that nature, but how humanoid they look in the face. So you've got that type. And it becomes fascinating to me when we start dealing with whatever the heck is going on in the inner earth. All these things about these different bloodlines. And I looked around. I couldn't find anything concerning Gugwe hair analysis. Only analysis that would be, there's a whole bunch of them, but I mean, they all seem to be one like Carpenter and Paulides. They seem to be more type 1s, I would assume. But, most of their stuff came back, the results came quite similar. Mm-hmm. And I believe that these Gugwes are not natural. I remember the last show we did concerning them, somebody you knew really well and experienced had mentioned that they thought that the Gugwe was not even a type of Sasquatch at all. They're entirely different species of some sort.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I wouldn't discredit that. And something else I'm sorry, I'll just keep going because you know me, I get distracted. The thing is that, when I first started hearing about these, they were more solitary hunters and not really seen in clans. And now as time is going on, I'm starting to hear more of them being seen almost in clans and them running out like the patty type of places. And I mentioned before, and I've got some of the videos I'll put up. I meant to put them all in chat before we started, but I've got it pulled up from my other browser, and it's the interview on Dixie Cryptid with that guy Rodney. And he's somehow affiliated with the Paris, Texas habituation. Excuse me. He mentions MK Davis and like Whitey's Run and a lot of the ones that were getting the mirrors out there. And he was part of that project. And he's saying that in that area and also around in the Oklahoma area, that the patty types were getting pushed out by these, he kept calling them monsters with the snouts, and how they actually cornered up one of his co-workers or cohabitation guys or whatever, got cornered by these things. And his wife was able to distract him with the car or something, and they got out of there. But how these things were cornering him up and they were going to kill him. And he described as being these ones with the muzzle. And, you know, when you start hearing it more and more, these muzzle ones are also confused with that. What is a type 3 dog man? Is it?
Yes, it could be a dog man. I mean, and that the Genoskwas and the Gugwe, let's call it the Gugwe, they do get confused with dogmen, I think. Some people think they're the same beast, if you want to call them a beast. Now, there's one pretty well-known case, and there's pictures of it, of what was known as a Gugwe, the Beast of Seven Shoots. Okay, now you're familiar with that. You remember that one. I actually have it pulled up here if you want me to share my screen.
I'll tell you what, I'll show this, and then you could do that. Well, here, I'll tell you what, real quick. Just so here, this is the dogman deal, and it's the type 3 variant 3 that they're saying is getting confused with Sasquatch, and actually is Sasquatch. And then the type 3 variant 3 of dogman and the type 3 Sasquatch are the same thing. I'm hearing people saying that, and that they think that it's getting messed up. So I just wanted to throw that out real quick. Let me pull this off and go ahead and pull that up. Yeah, the Beast of Seven Shoots. That's about the only good photo of one of these things we have, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the one that I have is a little bit grainy, but here, I'll share my screen, and we can just, as soon as that pulls up down the bottom, Barry, just pull that up.
Oh, new function. Oh, no.
I know. This is your test.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
This is your test of the emergency broadcast system. There you go. That's the Beast of Seven Shoots. And it's actually from a large picture. This is they've zoomed in on that animal that's right there. It looks like an animal, but there's some debate that goes on about this picture. I mean, it looks like a Bigfoot to most people, but it actually has kind of a snout, a muzzle on it, and it's holding something white, which I think it's a dog personally, but I don't know. It could be anything.
It's supposed to be a poodle.
It looks kind of like a white dog. The butt of a dog is what it looks like to me, or a coyote or something maybe. But that's a big animal. And it was somebody that was just taking pictures of a waterfall, and up there somewhere in Seven Shoots. I think that's in Canada, above New York, in that area. And yeah, that's one of the only pictures that I know of, like a pretty good picture of a Gugwe right there, if that's what that is.
You know, I've got a sketch that somebody computer generated before the days of AI. That's supposed to be that thing as up close as you can get. It's very interesting how it looks.
Here we go. Here, I've got this picture right here too. Let me zoom in on this. If I can get it to hold on. Everything's backwards. Okay.
You know, I had heard that supposedly there's some woman around there that her dog got jacked. It was like supposed to be some sort of expensive poodle or something.
Yes. Well, you know, and I'm pulling this up here because some people claim, there are people that have analyzed this. They think it's a person with a camera taking a picture, which it could be. You can see like the arms and stuff like there. So that's for the people that are trying to debunk that picture right there. But if you want to see the picture, here's the actual picture, and it's mostly of a waterfall. And I mean, it's just a tiny little blurb down at the bottom right there where that red circle is. This is one of the only cases where I don't remind a red circle, Barry. Okay.
Wow, really? So that's the original photo of that.
That's the original photo, yeah. And it's just a tiny little blurb down at the bottom. But if you zoom in, I mean, this is what you see. I mean, here we go. The Beast of Seven Shoots. That's it's a pretty good picture right there.
It really is.
That's me. Yeah.
You
So that's it. I think it's carrying a dog.
That woman's poodle.
Probably poodle.
I should be laughing. I'm sorry.
That's
tragic. You might have been a show dog,
I mean, it is kind of sad, but I think that's a pretty great picture right there. And for the people, like I showed you that diagram where they're trying to say that it's like a guy holding a camera up with his arms. I don't buy that personally. That not knowing what I know, seeing what I've seen. So, I mean, to me, that could also just be a Bigfoot. You know what I mean? It could just be a Bigfoot with a long nose or something. I mean, I don't know. But they say that's people classify that as a Gugwe.
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
You have the others you want to share?
No, that's it. You can stop sharing if you want. There you go.
Oh no, it's cool. It's cool. Tell you what, I'm gonna try to pull the one up that I had of here. That's somebody's representation of this thing. Getting better with this slowly. I'm only just like kind of really slow now. That's somebody's representation of what it would have looked like up close dimensionally.
He looks so happy. Like a glamour
shot. It's got the old nice Henderson thing going, huh? But these things are supposed to be very, very vicious. Like the most vicious type of quote unquote Sasquatch. So
yeah.
I agree. It does look a little
this looks goofy. It's a little goofy looking. That's okay.
Where we're on this though, something else I do want to show is that, and this will be prevalent for when we're talking about devil monkeys too, which I think is somewhat of a easier topic to cover in some ways. But
devil monkeys.
Yeah, they're for a long time I thought they were a ring pendak, and I was just mistaken. They're not the same. Anyway, going back to Dinopithecus, I just wanted to show this because this supposedly is what the Gugwe is descent or cousins of. It's this very large baboon that is no longer as part of the fossil record. And, that's why I took an interest in the old reports of them being much more baboon-like as opposed to being the bear-like we're seeing now. And so, Jessica, my question is, are we dealing even then with two different variants? The ones that are these Gugwe that are more baboon-like, almost like, the thing that really brings this to mind is really the devil monkeys. The devil monkeys described as, it's three-toed, but it's also described as having a tail. And the Gugwe has never been described as having a tail that I'm aware of. Are you?
No, no, I'm not familiar with that. But the amount of three-toed prints that I've been getting lately, Barry, is outrageous.
Really?
Three-toed prints. Even Bryce. I had Bryce Edwards on my show last night over on the Cryptid Hunters channel, y'all. And Bryce he and his family have like a 600 plus acre farm in southern Illinois. Mm-hmm. And they have not only a pretty massive amount of Bigfoot activity on his property. You can only imagine. I mean, that's a lot of property. It's surrounded by coal mines around there. And most of the other surrounding farms, like the people that own the farms around his family's farm, they've owned it since the 1800s. They sold their farms. They sold the land to a coal mining company for those mines. But he's out there, and he said that he was talking last night about three-toed prints that he's found out there. And we were kind of getting the conversation of like three-toed Bigfoots. I mean, it happens, but also reptilians and stuff. I mean, it's kind of wild. But it could be anything. But
was that the guest you had on last night?
Yes.
Okay, I was listening and I crashed out. I fell asleep. I was in the
Shame on you, Barry.
Wiped out, man. Wiped.
It's not that boring.
I don't sleep much, so I was burnt.
You must be tired.
You had mentioned FTRA, and I thought that was interesting. The first thing I remember before I fell asleep wondering what he was talking about, I said, wow, I wonder if he's around also like mine shafts and around mines, and that these are the trains that are in between these mines and things, those old tracks. And that whole thing with FTRA was weird. I even stumbled up on that. People just saying that they're seeing Sasquatch used to ride the freights like hobos, when addressing, by the way, when addressing the Gugwe, I heard a bunch of reports of them wearing clothes sometimes, or wearing the hide of kills. They're one of those that does that, and when I look, even like, for example, when it comes to devil monkeys, I don't know if I couldn't really find any reports of them, quote unquote, attacking people or anything. But when I look at either them and the Gugwe or just the mandrill alone, like I said, when those mandrills pull up some pictures of them, when you ever do, look at the way they're showing their teeth. First of all, their canines look completely predatorial. Like I mentioned earlier, every picture I saw, the eyes are rolling back in their eyes, showing the whites. And that's what sharks do when they attack.
Oh my God.
And it makes me wonder, when you and I were discussing on your show about a week ago, we were discussing the difference maybe between self-illuminating eyes and eye shine. And I mentioned that I've read some reports, of people saying that they run up on a Sasquatch who sounds like it might be, maybe type 1 or something similar, but it has brown eyes until it sees them, and the eyes see like they get shot, bloodshot, and they turn red. Heard a few reports like that. And that's why I was wondering, I was like, man, does that mean that's just a natural, like, defense type of system? Or is it something that's induced? Is it AI related? Is it, I don't know.
That's a good question.
I'm asked.
I don't know. Hey, I don't know if you have pictures of mandrills, but I pulled some up on, if you want to share the screen, I just share my screen. If you want to click on that and show the audience what mandrills look like, just in case people are wondering. These are just some pictures of some mandrills, y'all. And I'd say that's pretty major right there. Look at those teeth.
Yeah.
Look at that booty and teeth. I tell you what. So
and it's weird. It's weird because it always looks like they're wearing clown paint, doesn't it? Kind of.
It does. Well, it makes you wonder. It kind of looks like war paint a little bit.
Yeah, doesn't it though? That's an interesting. That's an interesting analogy. And I mentioned before, he's passed now. My friend Travis, he was a Chickasaw, full-blood Chickasaw, and his grandfather, he said, had some property in the Wichita Mountains out there, and he was the first person told me he saw Sasquatch out there, and his grandfather told him it was one of the guardians of the land. And that's why he told them to stay off that acreage over there. But they didn't do it. They went over there and smoked some weed and partied or something and saw the Sasquatch. And but then he also told me one of the other things that he had encountered. He said he got in big trouble for it. When he was a kid, he saw the little people. And he said he got in trouble because he talked to them. And they're never supposed to talk to them because they steal children. And we've both heard that many times. And, when I started asking, I was like, well, damn, man, what they look like, man, And I'll never, he's looking at me. He said, Barry, they were short, about lower than my knee, but they had on what we would call older Native American dress. He said they had war paint. He said each of them had different war paint on. Wow. And that really just kind of caught me off guard when he said that. I said, really, war paint? He said, yeah. They're some sort of warriors, man.
I've actually gotten a report. Mark Maychek, aka Cryptoville, who is a regular co-host / guest on my show. He lives up around the LBL, the Land Between the Lakes, in Kentucky, and that is a well-known spot for dogman encounters. But he came on the show talking about one of his dogman encounters he's had out there, where he thought he was looking at a deer in the woods, but when he was able to figure out what he was looking at, it was actually a dog man like a dog, and it looked, like I said, he thought it was a deer at first, but then he realized it was a light colored dog man with white paint smeared down its face. It literally had white, like it had put paint on its fingers and smeared it down the sides of its muzzle, down its neck, and it was almost like a war paint.
In his opinion, did he think it was maybe the S Walker type thing?
No, he did not. I think he believed it was just a dog man, just like a dog man. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it just makes you one of those. Well, where the hell would he get the paint and why? That's fascinating, don't you think? That's
absolutely
really interesting.
Well, it gives him more of a human characteristic, you know.
Wow. You know, okay, see, I'm getting too excited. Okay, I just better just show, since we're already talking about this, I'll keep mentioning the devil monkey. It have to be these great classifications, like I got it written down here. I'll just show the picture of the thing, at least the ones that I think are kind of the best anyway. And then because I want to go into something else that you had brought, actually data we can go over, okay? Because I know okay, so this just the devil monkey. Now the devil monkey is reported to being like the cross between a baboon and a wolf. And I think this is a fairly good caricature right there. Now, what I heard in the reports that this doesn't show is the three-toe prints. But I heard that repeatedly when I was listening to encounters about these things, that these three foot prints. But nonetheless, that's what they're supposed to look. And I mean, in that way, I'm sorry, that looks pretty terrifying, man. I'm sorry, these things seem to have a thing for eating roadkill. Most of the time they're seen, they've been grubbing up on some roadkill. So
well, this could actually explain some of those three-toe prints too that people are finding. Three-toe prints. Maybe it's a devil monkey.
You know, Jessica, I kept hearing the Appalachians coming up too. I know these are supposed to be reported in the more warm areas, like where you are in places, but a lot of it started coming up. The Appalachians started coming up. They've been seeing the Appalachians a lot. It's like, man, what all they got back in the mountains back there?
Right?
You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of secrets in the Appalachians, and people who live in the Appalachians don't talk about their secrets. Okay, so ask me how I know. I live in the Appalachians. Actually, I'm at the very southern tip of the Appalachians where I live, and I have friends that live in the heart of the Appalachians. And when I've had them on my show and I asked them about what kind of secrets y'all have, they looked at me and they just looked at me and they wouldn't say anything.
When I met you the first time, that was in person. That was in Helen, right?
That was in the Appalachians.
Okay, yeah, that's the edge of it there. You know, I was unaccustomed to seeing so many, because I like to walk around at night. Black ass would walk around over there at night. There's so many signs about bear everywhere, and people saying, "Oh yeah, they get up in the cars all the time here, and people leave them unlocked and all the other things." I was like, man, okay. I was unaccustomed to that, and that was right on the edge of the Appalachians, where the mountains we were looking at, right there on the side of the hotel, right?
That's right, Blue Ridge Mountains.
Very beautiful, but I must say, I'm sorry, they looked a bit creepy. Not just because I know there's just bear rolling around up in there, but I mean, they just didn't look very hospitable to me or very welcoming. You know what I mean?
Oh, no. Well, that's where I spent all my time, Barry. I was up in those mountains. So it is, it's not for the faint of heart. It's really not. And if you're not ready for it, I don't recommend going out there. Definitely not by yourself.
I don't think I was ready. I mean, it was very intriguing by the same notion. Okay, so excuse me, I'm congested. I wanted to talk about this and kind of take us into this. Okay, and this is what I mentioned earlier. Is that the Gugwe reports have gone from being what were more of a type of baboon to being more bear-like and having these bear-like characteristics. And the reason why I brought this up is because you've mentioned that before, and it makes me think of the thing you would call the zombie bear, which was fascinating. We can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But this here is the Dewey Lake monster. And, you know, the first reports of that, the people that were calling it the whistling bear. And so that's just something I wanted to bring up and maybe talk about maybe some of these Gugwes that might be a slightly different type variant that is not more baboon but more bear-like. Or I could be wrong. Maybe all Gugwes are the same, but it seems like there's some differences going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've got some reports because you've looked at the Gugwe of Yellowstone. I gave you that as a blind target. So that's something we can talk about. That's a fascinating one. And another one would be the actual, zombie bear that you mentioned before. I think those are, worthy of mentioning here. So I'll pull this off, but it just to give us a visualization for it,
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So I do a lot of boots on the ground field research. I have a lot of people who are experiencers of Bigfoot and other creatures on my shows that I interview, and people that I go out in the woods with that do research with me have told me a lot of interesting things about encounters they've had, especially out in Alabama. And I wanted to start this off by just mentioning that my friend Mark Green came on the show out of Alabama, and he was telling us a story about bear man encounters. I mean, there's a pretty well-known bear man. He's from an area called now I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Sylacauga, I think. Sylacauga area, kind of on the it's the eastern side of Alabama, not too far from like the Talladega National Forest and stuff. That's where he's from. And so I thought it was interesting they had the story of the bear man. Now, it's not to be confused with Bigfoot. It's a bear. It's something different. Okay. And it's like they knew the difference between the boogers and the bear men. They call them Bigfoot boogers, by the way, out there. But I find that interesting because there's actually stories of bear men all over the place. We even have like Bearzillas up in Tennessee and North Carolina. They call Bearzilla. There's been movies made about bears that have found. Never mind. I don't want to talk about that because we're on YouTube. But
oh man, you gonna leave you dangling like that?
Substances that make them act crazy, like drugs and stuff. They call them like, was it the C word bear? Y'all know what I'm talking about. I can't say.
Okay. Wait. I got now to start teasing you. I'm gonna start getting goofy. One of the reasons I decided to go ahead and do this, I was like, I'm not gonna talk about this stuff. But I got pushed into it because last night, when I woke back up, okay. I was forced. I sat there and endured at least an hour of this show on Sci-Fi, and it was called The Seacade Bear.
CK, that's what I was going to say, but I didn't want to say the word.
Oh, that was terrible.
Isn't it terrible? It is so bad. It's supposed to be a true story, though, I think.
Oh, no way. You might as well say Sharknado is real. I'm going to go outside and see some sharks flying around in the tornado.
Nothing would shock me at this point. Nothing.
Oh, wow. Anyway, keep going. What you were saying. Sorry,
okay.
I just tripped you out. The cocaine bear.
Well,
okay,
well, I hear almost as much about bear men is what they call them as I do Bigfoots down here in the South. And as a matter of fact, Bryce, who was on my show last night out of Southern Illinois, he was talking about how in the 1960s, his grandmother would see something, and she actually encountered what she called the honey bear. The honey bear, but it wasn't an actual bear, but that's what she called it because that's the only thing she knew what to say. I mean, I think that's even before the Patterson-Gimlin film came out with Patty. So she just called this thing a honey bear. She actually scooped up her kids and ran into the house and hid in a closet until her husband got home. Okay. Because there was a honey bear on their property. Now, this is the same property. We were talking about all the Bigfoot sightings they've had. And he actually, by the way, he was talking about how he had seen a black creature, bipedal black creature, kind of violently digging into a hillside on the property. And he just assumed it was a Bigfoot. Then I showed him the video of the grave digging dogmen out of Ohio. And he was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I saw. So I think he's got dogmen on his property as well. And they are known for digging into Indian burial mounds, and that's what he believes is probably on his property. Actually, he was talking about all the arrowheads he'd been finding out there, and I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. But anyways, get back to the bear. Okay, so historically, we've had a lot of accounts of children who have gotten lost in the woods, Barry, who have come back, who the ones that were lucky enough to be found alive were found, and they were telling their parents that, well, I was taken care of by a bear out there in the woods, right? So bears come up quite a bit when it comes to like a connection to Bigfoot out there. I think the Bigfoot's taking care of these kids, probably not bears. Okay, while they're lost.
Another Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yes. Well, something very peculiar came up in my remote viewing data one time. And I had been given two separate targets of some strange, mysterious deaths that had occurred that were very tragic deaths of two people on separate occasions on the same road in East Tennessee and Cott County, where I have since done some research out there. We had some dogman and Bigfoot activity in the same county, Cott County. And not too far. Yeah.
Cott County. I got you. Is that with
not
two
Cobb,
T's or one T?
Not Cobb County, where the big boss man lives, Barry.
Yeah, I know you said Cott. Well, that's the two T's or one T. I'm just kidding.
I know. It's oh my god.
The names I have down there. That's great.
Oh man. Well, okay. So I've been wanting to go investigate this place ever since I'd heard what happened over there. And the story that law enforcement was putting out was like, well, packs of wild dogs had attacked each of these people within a 2-month span and unalived both of them. One of the victims was actually lived for about 5 days or more, but she was found with like a huge percentage of her flesh taken off her body. And it just was really odd, because here's the thing. One of those victims, she lived for a few days, and the entire hospital was like put on a gag order, and that included her family, the hospital staff, even the law enforcement and stuff. They were all put under a gag order, which was odd, considering they were saying that a pack of wild dogs had attacked her, and there were, any of the dogs that were taken in for testing, none of them came back with like her DNA inside of them or anything. Okay, so not that I know of. So nobody was ever charged. No dogs were ever put down over any of these instances. So of course, people from like the Dogman organizations and stuff were like, well, we think it's Dogman, and so I was tasked with the death of Tony Aarons and Amber Miller for 2 different targets. They were blind targets. And Barry, it was really perplexing because both of those sessions that I did, the word zombie bear came up. Zombie bear. And I was actually asked to do a show where I discussed my remote viewing data with someone who had, was inquisitive on this and had some information about it. And it was embarrassing for me to even say that on air because, first of all, I have to be very gentle how I talk about recent deaths because, listen, this is fresh. There are families who are grieving, and I am very hesitant to even cover things like this publicly out of respect for the family. And but it was something that was her families were even wanting answers. Just like with Brenda Hamilton's family. I mean, there are people that just, they want the answers. They don't believe the official narrative. Okay. And Lord knows if I got put under a gag order for something, that makes it even more suspicious. Okay. If my family member were to have been attacked. But anyways, getting back to the data, zombie bear was in my data. And what I was seeing when I was remote viewing both of these attacks, I was not seeing a pack of wild dogs. I was seeing one large animal when I was remote viewing. And it was something, the only way that I could describe what I was seeing was a zombie bear. It looked like a bear, but it wasn't quite a bear. And it was like rabid and like crazy. And to me, that's the only way I could describe it.
So Jesse, like size wise, was it like grizzly size or Kodiak size or?
It was bear size. You know, and that's I wouldn't say it was Kodiaks. I just remember seeing whatever I was looking at because these are blind targets. So I'm just seeing like a bear. I'm like, oh, it's a zombie bear. It's a bear zombie. I don't know. That's weird. And since I mean I've had a lot of time to think about this. Okay, and let me tell you, when I was driving home from Alabama one night, and I passed by some strange animal that was crouched down in the tall grass about midnight, 12:30 at night, Alabama time. I was driving home one night and from an area that actually had dogman sightings there, and I saw what looked like I thought it was an African dog, then I thought it was a bear, and then I thought it was a panther. Whatever I was looking at was the size of a bear, but it looked like a hyena. Had a hyena's head, and it moved like a panther. And so I've seen some weird stuff, right, in the 3-dimensional, not just remote viewing. I'm talking about with my own eyes in this reality. Okay. Sometimes it gets a little weird because, we work with people from all over with all different viewpoints. And some people are like very in the astral with this stuff. This was in real life, y'all. This was 3D. I saw this. Okay. But
sounds like one of those type variant to a dog man. Looks like the kind of the werewolf American werewolf in London.
Mm-hmm. Well, it actually looked more like a hyena type dog man. What I saw, but it was all black.
Still pretty terrifying, nonetheless.
Yeah, I saw 2 of them actually. But getting back to the zombie bear,
a jackal even.
What I saw did not look like a jackal. It looked more like a panther head or like a pit bull, like a cane corso, if you know what I'm talking about. I used to call them cane corsos. I think they're cane corsos. But it just looked like a large pit bull head. And there's some pit bulls that do look like panthers. I found a picture that looks exactly like what I saw, head wise. And but anyways, it had white, super pearly white teeth and like super jet black fur on its face. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that because I've seen what I think was probably a dogman in that case compared to what I was seeing when I was remote viewing. It was different. Okay. Because I thought I was looking at a bear kind of when I finally got real close to it, but then I was like, no, it's got a dog head. Okay. And it was the size of a bear. This thing, whatever I was seeing was large. It was like the size of, it'd be like a skinnier brown bear, I guess, like that kind of a size. It wasn't like grizzly or whatever. It was big though. But then it was like really odd, Barry, because Kelly, a wonderful lady who watched my shows, she sent me an email, a link to an Israeli news show on YouTube, and they were talking about a program where like the government was working on animal hybrids, like super soldier programs, and they were talking about how they had been mixing like DNAs of bear, wolves, and lions with humans, and they were dropping these super soldiers off in pairs, and one of those areas where they dropped some of those soldiers off was in East Tennessee, like right around that area where that was, and where I had seen what I could only describe it as a zombie bear. Now, a zombie bear, I mean, it could have been like a werewolf, but like a werebear. I know it sounds weird, not a Care Bear, but a werebear. Okay, it's like the opposite of a Care Bear. But I mean, the rabbit hole is so deep, Barry. I don't even know where it starts or where it ends.
You know what I find interesting? So tell me, what made you put the zombie part with it?
Because it looked like it was like it was like a zombie, like out of its mind, foaming at the mouth, like crazy, just like it wasn't normal. Okay. Like it just wasn't normal. There was something wrong with it. That's why.
Okay. Even like more than Cujo when he got rabid.
It'd be like Cujo bear.
By the way, you realize that most of that was a guy in a suit, right? That wasn't a real dog. Did you know that?
Oh, man. That movie scarred me.
When I found that out, I was decades older, and it traumatized me when I actually saw the individual in the suit and everything. And most of those was not a real dog, but they played it off good between that and the cuts of a real dog. Anyway, I had to throw in a little bit of weird sci-fi history, of course. Something that really comes to mind, though, seriously, when you're talking about that is, although it hasn't jumped species, there's that fungus that turns like ants into zombies and certain types of insects into zombies. And it's more just the characteristics they develop and the look after they get infected with that. It's fascinating, but it almost sounds like you're describing something similar, or straight up just an abomination,
Well, here's my thing too. Why would the why would the hospital staff and the family and everybody, why would they be put under a gag order by a judge to not talk about it? If the one victim lived for days and she was talking at first, like at some point she talked about whatever happened to her, from what I understand. Now, I wasn't there, but this is what I was told. And so it just seemed like there was an active cover up, like there was something more to it. I mean, maybe it could have been like an S. Walker kind of situation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It could have been something that had to do with like black magic. And who's to say that those super soldier government assets, so to say, and who's to say that that's not some kind of black magic kind of a deal too?
It's really a trip, because how many of these things are being released? How many different types of cryptids? And we've got to do with something else that's realistic. And I mean, it's not just pseudoscience, but the fact we do have these other frequencies, these other vibrations, and beings right beside us. How many of them are sending things through the rips that are already here?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, taking it to where, not to say it's not the same as the underground lab we have here, but what if it's dimensional also? It's really gets funky down here, let alone when you start dealing with the sea and what's going on in the sea. And we know how active that is from the data you got from the missing 411 blind targets, the whole submarine thing. It's just, to me, it's somewhat appalling, because we can say things that are, quote unquote, biblical. And being a brother, I don't have religion or any of that, but I do pay attention to certain text and information. Okay. And when I start looking at what they say, Scott Carpenter is always constantly on that and comparing Sasquatch to Nephilium. And if I were to say something, I made a post the other day that was kind of concerning that. Technically, if they are descendants, this nuclear DNA on the father's side is from what they call, I know the word is always fallen watchers, but let's just say watchers, because I think there was all sorts of different types. But there's certain genetic problems they're going to have. One is, as much as they probably abhor humanity, they're going to be too curious and they're going to watch. And they do be watching all the time.
They're the watchers.
They're experts at watching. They're better than, look, I'm a Highlander fan. They had a whole group, an organization that watched the Immortals. You know what I mean? But they didn't get involved. Trying to see who's going to be the last one. What was the situation of Earth going to be when the last Immortal was present? Anyway, the point being, I mean, they're almost in that type of an action. Scott Carpenter mentions a lot. Well, look, they've got these spiritual abilities like the fallen ones did. And I mean, he's really in that. And I find it interesting because he's brought it up. And you and I have heard other people say it too, how for whatever reason, when they start using those religious revocations, the Sasquatch leave. And what a part is it that they're obeying certain spiritual laws? That is quite interesting to me. If what he was saying was true and accurate, I don't know, wasn't there, but it's really good food for thought. And I'm becoming more and more curious. And now we start dealing with this whole thing, like what those books are talking about. We're seeing it right now. We're seeing it, but it's getting dismissed as cryptids and as people being insane. But that stuff that's upping. Like the amount of Gugwe sightings is increasing, just like Sasquatching is increasing. And you start hearing, like, some people getting mind speak. They're saying, man, we're being forced to come closer to y'all because the Earth is in big trouble.
Yeah.
and they're saying it. You've got the quote unquote. I know nobody likes it, but we got to say the name because it came up in the data. The Galactic Federation. You've got the being not dealt with, this interdimensional, extragalactic. They're all saying that and talking about the Earth, preservation of the Earth, and how it's a part of the cycle of life of the entire cosmos, and how it's all connected to a quantum entanglement. I think it's real serious because right now Earth is in trouble. I think that's why people like you and I are manifesting and incarnated now. People in your group, the group here, and thank you all for being here. I'm trying to go through and type some of these, but I get to getting all tripped out. And that way it's weird. So that's the only thing I'm comfortable with. I'm like on the wrong side of the deal here.
You're in the captain's chair. You're in the captain's seat. Yeah.
I thought I was just Riker, man. Riker, Anyway, but so it's but when dealing with this and what kind of true genetic testing is going on is creating these aberrations, which is what they are, a lot of them in my opinion, and how we're seeing that and these different things being mixed. You had only a guest on, can't remember which one it was, but it's really good. Maybe about a week ago, and he was talking about, he's a gentleman, he said he ran into some type of, was it a goat, not a goat human hybrid, God, it was something similar to that. It was like a sheep or something. It was some sort of a different type of creature. He said a
sheep squatch or something.
Like like a sheep. It was some sort of a humanoid that was like one I had not heard being mixed before with humanoid.
One of these little sheep squash over here.
Would that technically be Pan?
No, it's different. It's all different, I think.
Star Trek, they always mess with Spock. They said Spock looked like Pan. Anyway,
the goat man.
Quick question. I want to get us too far off subject, but you'd mentioned the dog digging, graveyard digging dogman.
Dogman.
It's something similar to that you've seen. And I remember I did that show with you, one of those. Mm-hmm. What do you think overall is going on with that? Why are those dogmen going into those graves? Mm-hmm. Is it just necromancy? Is it to grub up on the bodies? What do you think it is?
I don't know. That's interesting. Well, we do have William Nighthawk in your chat tonight. I just saw William. Hey, William.
Hey, what's happening, William? Thank you for coming.
I believe it's William that's talked about how there's an energy that's put off. Like even after we die, the human body emits, some sort of a frequency, right? And I don't know, like he says, and there are people who say that actually see what these dogmen are being seen digging into are usually what we call Indian burial mounds. Okay. And so maybe there's bodies in there, maybe there's not. Okay. But potentially they have been summoned there. They have been conjured, summoned, manifested there in some way to protect that land at all costs. It's sacred land. And so they're there to protect it now. Maybe they're digging for something. I know that I had my friend Eric Testerman on the show. We were talking about that grave digging dogman out of Ohio. And he brought up the idea of like, we're trying to figure out why is it digging into an empty burial plot? Why? You'd think that if a dogman is digging into a graveyard, maybe they're looking for bones, a body. But this was an actual empty plot. And we know it's an empty plot because Colleen Norris, who came on the show, who owns that video, knows the person whose that plot belongs to. It's a woman whose husband was one of her good friends who's buried. His cremains are buried right beside it. And so it wasn't digging. There was nothing down there for it to dig for. Okay, nothing. It was almost like it was burying something, but it didn't put the dirt back on top. Eric had mentioned, well, maybe it was looking for a portal key or something. And a portal key was something new to me. I'd not heard of that before. But I don't know. That's a whole, like I say, there's all sorts of little rabbit holes we could take, little detours. But we really don't know why.
Digging in the cemetery where there was no corpse.
There's no corpse. There were no cremains. It wasn't
even technically grave robbing.
Nope.
It wasn't even doing that. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And, it makes you wonder also something else. Burial ground, holy ground, Wow.
And shall I add that when Colleen went in there, it was this happened on a Friday night, I believe, or a Saturday. She went back on the Sunday. The hole was there. She took measurements and tried. She even has like pictures of like where the knee imprints were on the ground, and this thing was like violently like digging into the ground, like side to side, like arm action like this, right? And the arm length was too long for it to be human, and the fingers and everything. I mean, like I said, she measured it, and it was too long for human arms. And so on Monday, she went on Sunday. The hole was still there. There was dirt outside of the hole. She got there on Monday morning. The staff at the cemetery had shown up, and they had covered the grave. They covered it up, and they had put fake flowers on, like in a row on top of it, like someone had been buried there. But she knew nobody had been buried there because that was her friend's plot, and that woman was still alive. And so she went into the cemetery office, and she was like, "What happened? I came out here, and there was a hole in the ground." And they go, "Oh, it was just animals. It happens all the time." And yeah, it was something that happened all the time, they said. So makes you wonder what on earth they digging for. Maybe here's my opinion on that, Barry. I know I just asked a question, and I'm gonna give you my opinion. I think that the land is like there's something else on that land. This is in Ohio. We don't know what they built that cemetery on top of. What else is there under that land? I mean, there's a lot of ancient Egyptian culture that was there in that area. There's also Native American culture as well. There's all sorts of things. It's way more ancient, probably. I mean, those graves had not always, it was a new cemetery. I mean, by new, I mean like in the, 20th century, probably, but like modern. But like, what's underneath that land? Like, what was there before?
Yeah, exactly. Another graveyard, even. You know what I mean? It's so interesting because this takes us, well, it doesn't matter. It takes us into another realm, which is something I mentioned before. It's something that Preston Dennett had talked about quite a bit. And that's the amount of UFOs that are seen over graveyards. I myself, one of the quote unquote cryptid creatures I've seen that I can't explain, I saw coming out of a graveyard about 35 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I was driving late at night. It's a place called Maple Grove, and it's a cemetery. It's on a hill, and it does look somewhat creepy. It's just old, you know what I mean? But across the street ran out this. I thought it was a fox at first, but I mean, it was almost too big to be a fox, but not quite as big as a coyote. But I mean, you know what I mean? But here's what's weird. It was orange and white, and it had an orange and white ringtail on it. This thing was big. It stopped in the middle of the road and just stared at me. I hit the brakes. You know what I mean? There's nobody on the road, though, at all. And then it went on across, and it was so odd. And at first, only thing I could think is that some sort of grave robber? But when I get home, still to this day, I try to look up types of foxes like that. There's no orange and white ringtail fox, especially not by where I live. There's not a thing. I can't find any category to put this thing in that I saw. And it seemed completely supernatural in every way. You know what I mean? When I'd actually seen it. So that's just one thing. But going back to the Preston Dennett thing and seeing some of these UFOs sometimes shining light down on graves and stones and stuff, I wonder how much that takes us into something I've talked about, which is the ISIS thesis. And how Judy K. King has the hypothesis thesis that the pharaohs were actually using the mummification process to allow their body to do an activation of the uncoded DNA that was part of what's called the phage lambda, which is positive bacteria that uses light, and how that can be used to enlighten our bodies and our cells after death. and then help you skip the losing the memories after your death process. And it's very, very fascinating when you start, kind of looking at things like that and maybe what some of the things that these UFOs could be doing that is not just necromancy. You know what I mean? That is something that could be activating other parts of ourselves so we don't forget truly what we are.
And what do these dog men look like? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Who do the dog men look like? The pitch black dog men that are rummaging through these, cemeteries and digging up the dirt. They look like Anubis, right?
Yeah,
they look like Anubis.
Yeah.
The ancient Egyptian god of the underworld. Okay. So
see, I'd always read that Anubis was supposedly based on a jackal.
He is a jackal. But he looks like him. Still looks like him.
But I'm not very good. But to me, I'm sorry, jackals, hyenas, what's the laughing ones? What are the other ones called?
They're hyenas.
Yeah, hyenas, jackals. What's the others? There's a third one.
I have no idea.
I almost said Dalmatian, but that's not right.
Dalmatian.
No, Cruella de Vil. It's not
Dalmatian dogman.
Yeah. Hyenas, jackal, and somebody knows. Anyway,
coyotes. Gary says coyotes.
Yeah, I guess that works enough. That wasn't what I was thinking, but that's close enough. But
that's a good one too.
With lemur, is that what you said?
Cerebus. Is that how you say that? Muriel is in here.
Oh,
yeah. The three-headed black dog or three dogs.
That's right. I've got a video I never released over hellhounds and that whole concept like that. And I don't know where it begins and ends, but when it comes to some of those dog men, it's amazing how many people that have experienced or seen one often make reference to the Van Helsing movie.
Yes. Yeah, Hollywood knows what's up. They know. They get the script. They know what to put out there. That's what I think. That's what Jimmy Payne says.
Things like the old movie Wolfen, which was about actually the spirit of the wolf entering the city due to eradication and other things. And and we talked about that before, how many things are actually manifesting from Earth itself. And Earth making, if we ourselves can make psychic projections, okay, and poltergeist, and when you start going into the Earth Gaia concept, why would the Earth not being the same with making poltergeist, echoes of the past, phantom images, phantom beings that come from consciousness? I just got through talking about how plasma itself, at a certain point, can start becoming possibly conscious and sentient, and how you can have beings that actually just emerge from that. 99% of that is plasma. You start dealing with plasma and consciousness, and beings that use plasma as a container for their consciousness, it really changes things. And that's something, Jessica, I just had to deal with due to the encounters I had. I encountered these beings that were undoubtedly very sentient, very conscious, and they weren't humanoid. They had some type of a plasma they're using, or bit or condensed light, maybe a combination, as a container for their consciousness. That goes all the way further into the plasma balls that you remote viewed for the crop circles and the information you got. That plasma is very, very important. And, that's partially because I wanted to know, are those plasma balls us in the future after we've changed containers? Are those time travelers we're watching right there?
Ooh, that's interesting. I was actually just having a conversation last night with Bryce, of course, and he was telling me about his Hat Man encounters that he's had, Hat Man and shadow beings and stuff. And I was telling him, I was like, well, some people think that Hat Man could be a time traveler. Remember, you gave me that as a blind target. Do you remember that? You gave me that as a remote viewing target. And I was like getting time traveler data, wasn't I?
I think so. I think so. Yeah, I think so. I can't remember. We've done so many targets now. I got to try to isolate it. Because it's always trip out of the dark stuff. And I thought I should be giving it to you as a target, but I couldn't help it because I've seen the Hat Man. You know what I mean? I've seen the Hat Man. So I was just too curious. And all I can say is, nothing happened to me. but it did generate a very negative feeling, and a feeling of fear and despair and that type of a thing. And this individual was just down the street. I could see them walking to and from underneath a street light to the other one a couple of times.
Wow.
And it was so odd because they had on, I mean, it almost looked like, you know, like either Highlander or like Clint Eastwood when he plays that preacher. It was an outfit like that, it seemed like, with the hat though.
Mm-hmm.
But it made me feel very uncomfortable. And there was no doubt that this individual wanted me to see them. Even if it wasn't messing with me, just wanted me to see them. You know, and when you start looking at, like, I like the work of Heidi Hollis. She's gone pretty far with the whole Hat Man stuff and really kind of put it on the map. And, you know, bottom line though, Jessica, she says they are demonic. Period.
Yeah.
And I'm not in a position to dispute that at all. You know, I've mentioned before, I've only had experience with the shadows that I've seen in that way. And I've seen things that attach to people that look almost not insectoid, but venomous, predatory, spider-like almost, you know, things that were attached to people in their energy fields and stuff. Some type of entities that are, you know, sucking us dry, and others that will blend with us into our energy field. And I mean, and that's just horrible. And then you got the earthbounds too. And sometimes I'll be doing an earthbound spirit release, and one of these, you know, these others will be there. Sometimes they'll leave during the session or before, but sometimes they won't. And they'll try to sit there and trick me, you know, and I have a very specific techniques that I use that exposes them. For whatever reason, there's certain divine laws from the divine field they can't seem to defy. And there's others that are like rules. And you've seen it now. And you and I have dealt with some sorry MFs straight up.
Yeah. Petty tyrants.
Yes, petty tyrants.
Petty tyrants of the world.
Yeah. And you know, and sometimes I know you thought, God, Barry's kind of a jerk. He thinks bad of that person when I tell you that they're not a good person. And you know, and at first you can't tell the criminal who's standing. You can always see the one that's standing on the corner in the black outfit with the mustache and twirling the black cane. You can tell them easy. The ones that clothe themselves in good deeds are not so apparent.
Barry, I have to give you credit. You're usually right. And no matter what I say, I'm like, I think that's a good person. You're like, oh no, there's something wrong, Jessica. And you're always right. You're always right. You're always right.
Sadly, I'll be glad that I'm wrong, but it's like, damn.
Dang it, Barry.
And it sucks a little because people are, you know, into that. You're seeing people right now getting consumed with fame and other things, and not really into this whole mission of trying to really save this place, man. It's about the information. Doesn't matter how many clicks you get. It doesn't matter how many people are looking. It's about what information are you relaying to people that can change people's lives. That's you know what I mean? And you know, and as far as us, like I was mentioning, you know, this thing like these demonics, they'll, you know, look, I'm not trying to be Max von Sydow. I just get rid of them. I can get rid of them, and the person can do it too. But they'll do these things, you know, and some of them will, you know, have even said when they'll try to masquerade like they're an earthbound spirit. But then I'll ask, oh, he's earthbound spirit. How are you influencing the person that they're attached to? And they'll tell you. And they don't even view it as like betrayal. It's not like that. A lot of times they think they're helping. They say, well, Natasha Jessica, and I was making her doubt herself. Didn't like her boyfriend, so made sure they had fights. And just stuff like that they'll start saying. And it's the way that they're expressing and living through you or whoever the person is. You know what I mean? And then you've got these others that are setting the fuel to that, even worse. And they'll tell you, so, well, I wanted them to kill themselves. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, things of that nature. And this is so serious, the stuff that's all on us. The different types of trauma, the different types of inorganic beings, the different dead people. And our society, for the most part, does not acknowledge it. And I think that maybe that's what we're seeing now is going forward with that. Mm-hmm. But these things being exposed, like these factories or whatever they are, man, they need to get exposed. not just people blowing the whistle. The whistle is getting that stuff on paper.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody needs to bring these people to the front, because this has been going on a long time. It's dark, it's demonic, and that's what's still raining down here. Anyway, sorry, we were talking about
I actually thought of something, Barry, when you were saying that, because I watched this video the other day. I was thumbing through TikTok or something, I don't know, and this fellow was saying, well, there's a lot of depression going on right now. There's a lot of people that have a lot of mental things going on, right? And wanting to self-delete, as you were just talking about, stuff like that. And he was like, it's actually, it's good for them to go into counseling stuff, but really the root of the problem is a lot of that is attachment, and they need to go work on getting these attachments removed, like spirit attachments and things, and entity attachments, parasites, basically. And parasites can be, worms in your body, or it can be a spiritual parasite as well. And I thought he had a wonderful point. I thought about you when I saw that. I was like, man, that's actually, that is getting to the root of the problem right there.
When I do the system I use to dissolve negative identities, and we've talked about that, and one, it's because we're not told how the brain actually communicates with the soul, with the spirit. And it's through imagery. And those negative identities are locked within imagery, is how you can unlock them and dissolve them. But it's very private to the person. They don't have to tell me what the trauma and the upset is. I'm not even concerned with that. I'm more concerned with how they're reacting to it in their life. And then once you dissolve that, the spirit part of us responds in a way that's positive. And these negative identities react in a way that's negative. We can dissolve them, but it's actual work. And it's mental, psychokinetic, psychological work. And it's interesting to me, Jessica, is that these people that will come and I'll do a session, help them, and then when it's over, they'll be, oh, that was really tough. It was like running a marathon, or was something tough, and they never come back. And it really shows me something. It's not that it didn't work. It's that one, the method holds you accountable. We make those negative identities, and we have to be accountable to dissolve them. That's number one. And number two, my friend, people like their trauma. They want to keep it. They want to hold on to it. They don't want to get rid of it.
It's their identity. A lot of people are like that.
Yeah, negative identity. It's a crutch. It's all sorts of things. And look, and when I
know better.
Yeah, and when I say that, Jessica, I'm not just being the guy in the glass house throwing rocks. I survived from 4 catastrophic traumatic brain injuries. People have no idea what that was like. No idea what it did to my self-confidence. No idea what it did to my self-efficacy. No idea what it did to my self-esteem. All these things, and let alone the depression and things like that came along with it. And it would be weird because when I got out of the hospital and stuff, people I know, on my live see me say, oh my God, you're still the same. You're still the same guy. Yeah, until you get under my skin. You'll see a part of me you never seen before. Or, things like that I was dealing with, but people couldn't see it. It was like it was partially invisible. You know what I mean? But if I wouldn't have held myself accountable and tried to go get help, try to get some therapy about some of this stuff, figure out what was triggering me before it could get triggered. I was an anger management trainer for years. It's like, none of that stuff even worked anymore. I worked with people with depression a long time. I didn't think I was going to get it. You know what I mean? So it was like that type of a situation. But one thing I will say that it's cool about COVID, not cool, just beneficial. The one beneficial thing about it was it put mental health on the forefront. Yeah, people are talking about mental health now. It's much more addressable now, opposed to, such and such in my family's mentally ill, so we had to lock them up and put them in the in the attic. Don't want nobody to know or see them. That's not what's going on anymore now. People are able to deal with it, talk to somebody, and it's a big step forward for our society, I think.
Yeah.
And for humanity,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Actually, the whole thing where we had the lockdowns and stuff were actually beneficial for a lot of people, and for a lot of other people, it was horrible, right? For me, it was good because it was right when I had just separated from my husband at the time. And I was able to actually take a break and reset my whole life during that time. So yeah, there were benefits and there were bad sides to that as well. But it was like a reset for humanity in a lot of ways, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
and and some people that were able to hide mental illness weren't able to.
Exactly.
I guess I could talk about it. Since you exposed me on your show, I can't hide it. So if you're I'm a GH fan, General Hospital fan. I have been since '79. I've been watching General Hospital.
Y'all very like soap operas.
No, not soap operas. Just General Hospital. Okay, I cut it there.
You don't watch The Young and the Restless too?
No, I never did that.
That's what my mom likes.
I was gonna say this, but my mom, she got me stuck on Dynasty and Dallas when I was a kid too. And that's it. Those are the only three. And I'll admit one other thing. I was one of them brothers who was watching 90210 and Melrose Place and then lying to my other friends about it. The other brothers like I wasn't. I was all lying. And what did my partner say? He said, "Man, I ain't get home quick. Dylan's getting tore up, man. He's gonna be in trouble."
Dylan.
I said, "Man, that's 90210. Oh yeah, man. My sister watched that. Oh, come on, man. Give it up. He watched it too, man. Anyway, I cut it off at Models Inc. No way. Anyway, but General Hospital. A dude that when I was a senior in high school, I would rush home. Second half of the day, I didn't have any classes, so I get home just in time to watch GH. And this cat showed up that plays Sonny Corinthos. He's this mob boss cat. His name was Maurice Bernard in real life. And he's bipolar too. And not long after he started GH, he had a nervous breakdown, another one. And they put him in an institution, like in a straitjacket for a while. And then he came back to the show and stuff, but he's still on the show now. And they wrote in the character Sonny as bipolar too. So he plays Sonny as bipolar. But Jessica, then COVID happened. He got on lithium. He does really well now, he says. COVID happened and he had another breakdown because he couldn't go to the studio and couldn't work and all that. And he was saying how his family just loved it. They're playing ping pong. They're hanging out every day. They're not working. He said for him, it was miserable. He's locked away in his room wanting to commit suicide. So he started a show on Sundays called State of Mind. And he interviews a lot of the stars, not just General Hospital, just throughout Hollywood that have mental health issues. And they come on there and talk about it openly in a way never had before has been done. And I think stuff like that is important. It's a step forward. And it just works because he's a soap opera guy that's doing it. But I mean, the breakdown stuff is real. And if you've ever dealt with somebody that's got like bipolar 2, it's pretty tough. Or somebody with narcissistic personality disorder. I think you've dealt with that. That's not easy.
Not easy.
You know what I mean? So my heart goes out to all those people that deal with that. Like I remember, when I was in Australia, I was watching Kanye have some sort of breakdown. He was going on about his kids and about he's going to run for president, he's going to do this and that. And I could see it plain as day. He was having a breakdown. He went manic.
I was thinking about voting for him actually. So I don't know.
But the sad thing is no medication. He doesn't want medication. At some points, look, I disagree with the whole pharmaceutical thing, but some real chemical problems do need medication sometimes. I don't care how much money he has. If he never gets medicated with bipolar 2, he's going to be miserable to live with.
Yeah.
You have people taking off their clothes or whatever the hell that woman was wearing at that ceremony. I mean, come on, Jessica. That woman looked so uncomfortable. That wasn't.
You're talking about his wife or girlfriend?
Is that what she is?
I don't know. Yeah, that was awkward. That's weird. But see, I think that he's been cloned. So I don't know. I thought that was his clone doing that. I don't know.
Hey, it could be. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know you're into that and how far that goes. And
that's a clone.
Clonier. I thought about you when I was watching Real Genius the other day, last week. You remember the show Real Genius? Do you remember that? You never even saw that movie with Val Kilmer?
Think so.
It was like his first movie that made him kind of famous. It's called
Real Genius. That was back when he was real good looking. Yeah. No, I don't know.
not for me to judge, man. but there's this dude named Mitch on there, the young cat that is kind of about, and I keep looking at this dude. I was kind of falling asleep, and I come back. I was like, man, what is I watching Sex in the City? Let me turn this. But I wasn't. It was still Real Genius. This young dude looks so much like Sarah, whatever her name is, from Sex in the City.
Mhm.
They look like twins.
They're probably clones.
I mean, I thought about you because I said, I guarantee that you saw their pictures. I had to put their pictures up as well.
Val Kilmer looks like Sarah Jessica Parker? That's weird.
No, Val Kilmer was in that movie, but they're all going to this school, this genius school, and Val Kilmer's like the smartest dude or whatever. Chris Knight was his name, I believe. But there's this other dude named Mitch, and he's the young cat that got recruited there, and he's like too young to be there, and he's trying to learn the ropes. I remember his name because that's my brother's name, so it sticks out in my mind, you know. Anyway, Mitch and Jessica Parker look like twins almost. Somebody look that up. Look that up from that movie, the way he looked then and the way she looks around Sex in the City. They look like they could definitely be siblings. Yeah. I mean, they're not, but I looked it up. They're not, but I was like, oh boy, Jessica would run with this one.
Oh man. Well, actually what I've been seeing lately is that Tyler Hansen guy I talk about a lot. He's on Facebook and all over social media. He does these like side-by-sides where like he actually takes historical figures and puts them up to like famous celebrities today. They look like twins. They even have like the same moles on their face and freckles, and you can see where some of them have had their moles removed, and it's just wild. Like some of these, he believes that they're like fallen angels or something, like immortal people who are like just living through lifetimes and then taking on a new identity. I mean,
like Highlander. Like Highlander.
You know, there are people that is very suspicious. There is a like let's just say, for instance, I know this is totally off topic what we're talking about today, but like Kobe Bryant, for instance, I don't know this football player's name, but he looks, I think it's Kobe. Okay. And he plays, I can't remember who it is, but he's been showing pictures of like Kobe and this other football player today. I think it's the same person. Okay. I just think that people, sometimes they'll fake their death. I'm not saying Kobe did, but I'm thinking he could have, if he did, theoretically, and then became just another ball player on another sport. I think that happens.
Have you seen that whole thing about Kobe knew that he was not going to live very long, past 50? I've seen this. There's somebody talking about that, and it's somebody well known.
I don't know. Everything is so scripted today, Barry. I just don't believe anything. Any celebrity, I just don't know. I have given up my faith in celebrity humanity at this point. I think it's all smoke and mirrors. So I don't know. Keanu Reeves.
I mean,
I have seen enough to where I don't believe anything anymore. Okay, when it comes to celebrities.
I mean, I don't know. It's the whole celebrity thing has always kind of turned me off a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we should be paying more attention to the scientists that keep coming back up. You know, that maybe that we don't ever see faces and people that are behind some of the inventions and some of the dark technology that's being utilized right now. You know, and it's so interesting because all jokes aside, that's something I was a big Highlander fan. All right. I liked the first movie pretty much only. The others with Endgame was all right, but they weren't, but the series was really good. And when you start dealing with the concept of somebody that doesn't age appropriately, and how would they live after a couple 100 years? Only so many years where they have to kill themselves or make themselves appear like they die. And then they let somebody that they're adopted, inherit everything that's them. Situations like that are like one where McLeod is, this guy comes up on him. He says, McLeod. He said, you don't recognize me. And dude's like probably 80 years old. And he said, man, we fought in the resistance together. And he's looking at me, he goes, man, do I look like somebody could have fought in the resistance? He's like, man, I know it's you. I know it's you, man. But it made me think of things like when Art Bell used to do those coast to coast open lines. Sometimes he would do not just a time traveler line or alien line. He would do an immortal line for people that said they were immortal. And I'll never forget, he had this guy call in that said he had this unusual blood type and something about his blood, and he did not age. And he said he aged up to where he's about 30-some years old looking. He's never changed. Everybody he knows has died, and he said something, he was like 200 and some years old, 270 years old or something. And I'm going to tell you, it sounded so convincing. You know, some people will call in, and he was saying how miserable it was because everybody he knows dies at some point, and he remains. And that's something that Highlander, like Duncan MacLeod, went over. He was technically one of the younger ones. He was like 450 years old, but you had others that were a couple of thousand years old before they got their head cut off.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but he started. You know, he's talking to another immortal. Another dude's like 1,000 years older than him. He's saying, "Man, what?" He goes, "That old man we just buried, I helped him be born, and today I buried a guy that was old and gray with a cane." And the dude looks at him. He said, "What's going to happen again and again and again and again?"
Oh, that would suck.
And he started looking at me. He said, "That's what happens. We stay when everybody else we know loves and dies." Even taking it as far as a Be a Geek with you for a second, Smallville. The first season of Smallville, they had the person of the week was somebody that could touch people and see their death.
Oh.
God, what do you call it? Well, it was psychopathic, but that's not it. It's not psychokinetic either. But anyway, it's where you touch something, you get all the information. But for them, it was death. And every time he touched them, he would let anybody touch him because he'd be seeing when they're going to die. And they would show that, you know, him having these visions. But then Clark Kent comes up behind him and grabs him. He's supposed to tour him and say, hey. And when he grabs him, he starts tripping, he starts seeing, but he sees like the kind of the cape. You kind of see the S on it, but then you see it moving, you see it going towards the sun. Okay? And the sun getting closer and closer. And dude started looking at me, he said, "Man, I've seen everybody's death, but not yours." It's like you just keep going and going and going. You know, and the theory of that is that in the end of Superman's life, he's supposed to go into the sun. That's what I had always read anyway. I'm not a huge Superman fan, but I used to check out all that stuff. Anyway, but point being, Clark goes home to his parents. "Mom, Dad, is that what's going to happen? I'm just going to keep living while all y'all die?" And their lifespan is way longer than ours anyway. But it's just little stuff like that. When you start dealing with the concepts of immortality within the confines of this body in this world, I'd be good for 500 though before I think I get stuff right.
Oh man, I don't know. No, I was just kind of thumbing through some of these. Y'all check out Tyler Hansen on Facebook, okay, and all over like YouTube. He says Morgan Freeman is Jimi Hendrix, and I can't argue with that. Okay, there are some. I mean, he also says that like, what is that? Paul, hold on. What was that guy's name that was on those Paul, the guy, Paul somebody. He said that he's JD Vance. Okay. Paul, the guy that died in the car crash.
Look, I gotta call BS on the Morgan thing. I can't let that go.
I'm serious.
You know why I say that? Look, when I was a little kid, Morgan Freeman was on the Electric Company.
Yeah. Morgan Freeman is Jimi Hendrix.
With Rito Fraternity and all that. That cat is not Jimi Hendrix.
Just look at the pictures, Barry.
If that's the case, well, hey, maybe I'm Gregory Hyde reincarnated. Can I get daps? Maybe I can sign some autographs.
Well, Tyler Paul Walker. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, Aaron says it's Paul Walker. Well, he also says that MLK Jr. is Don. What's that guy's name with the crazy hair? Don, the fight promoter.
Don King.
Don King. He says, and he tries to make the point that's him too. So it's kind of weird. You know what I mean? Some of them are kind of weird. Some of them I do believe. Some of them I don't. Okay, so it's just a matter of checking it all out and just having an open mind and having food for thought, Barry.
Well, what's the best one, do you think?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, he's trying to make the argument that, like, I mean, I have pictures right here. I don't know celebrities like you do, so I don't know their names. I can just look at their pictures. Prince. He says that Prince is David Blaine. That's another one. David Blaine, the magician. The Kobe one's my favorite though, because I kind of believe it. I don't know. I think there's this NFL player. He plays for the Seahawks or something. I can't remember. I have to look, y'all. I don't remember who it is exactly. I've been trying frantically to find out who that ball player is. But look, I'm going to show you this. Hold on, let me pause it.
Latest Prince. That's ridiculous. Yeah. You know, I used to like David Blaine until I started finding out a lot of these little skits were like setups.
Tell me they don't look just alike. I'm just saying.
Oh, gee, I'm totally
convinced. Just saying, they look just alike.
I'm convinced now. I can do it. Hey, you guys! That's how I always remember that cat, man.
Case closed. Case closed. It's true.
Goodness, man. Just kidding. That's the guy that gives the Elvis guy impression too, right? The Elvis, the two Elvis deals.
He actually. Well, that's something else that like I find kind of weird because he claims that Elvis is like so and so, and then he's like, oh no, Elvis is Donald Trump, and I don't know. He says that Donald Trump is Elvis Presley. I don't really buy that one.
There's that other lady on Instagram that gets so many views. I'm basically taking a picture of anybody. It could be you. Hey, she's got Adam's apple. That's a man. I mean, she's getting clicks everywhere. More than the guy that kicks everybody's food out of their hand. NDO champ. You know, anyway, what I said, it's a trend. We're in the era of that right now.
Hey, so I believe there's some of that going on too. But also, when women are really skinny, they're what is that? Your larynx or whatever, like your throat will poke out a little bit. So, you know.
I remember an episode.
I don't buy all that.
Of the old Batman. There's a record I used to have. He's looking for the Catwoman on a train. She's saying that he can't figure out. He can't bust her. And he's walking around dressed up with Dick Grayson looking up like this. And Dick Grayson's like, what are you doing? Why are you looking up like that? And he said, it makes everybody else look up. And when they look up, she looks up and is a man. And she had no Adam's apple. And he knew immediately, hey, that's the Catwoman. Because she had no Adam's apple and was dressed like a man. That's investigation skills right there, man.
Oh Barry.
So check this out. So check it out. One thing I didn't want to do though, because I get to joke around with you, but it's something.
Now wait, I'm gonna have to do a whole show on fallen angel celebrities tomorrow, and investigations into that. Okay, we're gonna look at Elvis and Donald Trump tomorrow, y'all. We'll see, or not.
You know, it will be interesting to see in years to come, though, people that start popping up that do look like some of these celebrities that we know now that are deceased, and how much of that is going on for real. We'll start seeing in the future, especially. You know.
Well, yeah. Well, that's Barry. But here's the thing. Like, what is pop culture? I mean, it's all about control, right? Controlling the masses, controlling emotions, getting that loosh. Remember Loosh? You know, I remember when Left Eye died from TLC. Remember Left Eye?
Mm-hmm.
And she died in a car accident down in South America somewhere, right? And today they say this new artist named Saweetie is Left Eye. Okay. And I've looked, I really do examine this stuff. I know we kind of laugh about it, but like I do believe they do that. And I do believe that they are. The world is a stage. Okay. So
they did Left Eye and they've not done Aaliyah.
Oh no, there's Aaliyah. I don't know. It's a sensitive subject. People get really upset when you start talking about this.
Oh, I'm sure.
You start talking about the people, like they say that Selena is Jennifer Lopez too. Okay. So I don't know.
Oh my gosh! He played the
for entertainment purposes only.
He played her in a movie, man.
Well, they throw it in our faces. Why wouldn't she?
Okay, in that case, Jamie Foxx is really Ray Charles, right?
Probably not. I haven't seen that one yet.
She give me money.
If Tyler Hansen hasn't covered it, I don't know. Twigs and berries. Steve.
Oh gosh, what was I going to say though?
Looking at my bum lookers.
It was
okay. Sorry, that's
I can't remember now, but it was something about the people that were stars or
Got
something.
distracted.
I can't remember that. What'd you say?
Sorry, Barry. We got way distracted on those.
Yeah. So check it out. What I did want to talk about though was maybe some stuff that you had some similarities you saw about the Gugwes in between, like the target, like let's say, we went from talking about COVID to General Hospital to bipolar 2 to dog people to werewolves. 2
celebrity lookalikes and clones.
I'll tell you what they need to do. They need to go ahead and clone Dick Van Dyke. He's about done, man. They need to go ahead and clone him pretty quick, man. Right now, we should see another him that looks just like he did when he's with Mary Tyler Moore, right?
Oh my gosh. There's a clone for everyone.
Oh, when I was in Australia, I was desperate to find American TV.
Okay.
In the hospital especially. And
I
kept coming across it like from 3 to like 7 a.m. Murder diagnosis murder with Dick Van Dyke, excuse me. And the best part of it, what I really liked,
oh gosh,
the co-star was his son, Barry Van Dyke.
Barry Van Dyke.
Man. Yeah, that's
any relation? To you?
No, I don't think so. But he played a real cool Detective Steve Sloan. That's a cool name. Anyway, I almost released a video that was about the Barry satellite mission. And what that is, another one of these, like our Sirius Rex that they have going and mining asteroids.
Oh, wow.
Another program. And it's like some type of a program that's like nano satellites or something that's doing it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow, my mind, man. So check it out. So any like correlations that you saw between the Gugwe of the Fog, Old Green Eyes, and also maybe even the zombie bear? I know the zombie bear might be a little bit different, but those are just the Gugwe things that kind of had came up. And I'm just curious if you saw any similarities in the data and things that we know about these creatures. So I should have asked you that a long time ago before I started talking about General Hospital.
Well,
902, God. I'm going to live that down. You know that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I was just looking at the data actually for the Gugwe and the fog. Now, it actually wasn't the actual target you gave me was just the fog. It wasn't the actual Gugwes in the fog. Okay, so I was just reading. It says, let me read this paragraph, okay, because this is from what you gave me. There are stories of a dense electricity-filled fog in Yellowstone that has a malevolent energy to it. It seems to appear out of nowhere and follows people around, stalking them around the park. It has also been associated with Gugwe with glowing red eyes, using the fog as cover for attacks on unsuspecting hikers. Some say the Yellowstone Whispers protect from the Gugwe and the dense fog, because it was 2 targets. The Yellowstone Whispers at Yellowstone Lake, and also the Gugwe in the fog. And I have some of so it wasn't actually the Gugwe was not the actual target. It was just the fog. And some of the data I got, it didn't really cover the Gugwe, but it did cover that fog, and it's sideways. So I'm having to turn my head.
If you want to go over this, cool. We've got, I think Sunfire Goddess is still in there. She was mentioning that you had on that show that you had talked about the fog, and she's encountered the fog. I think it was her.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, I've encountered some strange fog a time or two, and there was that one time in North Georgia I've told you about several times, and I was with my friend Tim, who's since passed away. He's one of the guys that went in the portal. Wow. But we were basically kind of followed and chased by a fog that had a consciousness to it. And we took off down the hill, and this thing was, every time we'd speed up, it'd speed up. We'd slow down, we'd stop, it would stop and slow down. And it was just really scary. It was eerie. It was one of the scariest nights I've had out in the woods. It was from that fog. But yeah, actually
real dense, any color to
very dense. It was white. It was white, and just, you couldn't see through it. It was like a cloud of fog. And it was so thick. It's something I've never seen. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, intelligent fog. That's right. Yes, that's what I saw. Was in it had a consciousness to it, is the way I described it.
Felt like it was alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some of the data for that fog included pyramids. Pyramid was in my data for some reason, but sound and frequencies of vortex is part of that. Levitation. I kept getting like Egypt and scarab beetles and magic and stuff. Like, it was really weird because I was getting a lot of Egyptian data, like magical data. I wrote illuminated and transparent. Let's see. Colorful, flying, something on the inside. I was seeing like rainbow colors and stuff too, like a translucent, transparent kind of thing. And so I was definitely picking up on the fog in the data, but I also picked up on weapons. It was used as a weapon as well. And grid system, ley lines, power source, power generator. I'm sorry, it's all sideways, so my head's sideways. Light source energy, biological data. So it's almost like it was used as a weapon, maybe to collect data or something. I don't know. But it had something to do with the grid system and ley lines and a power source of some sort too. So I don't know that. I didn't pick up anything on Gugwe for that target. Okay, for that one target. But I find it very interesting.
You know, in some ways, you're almost describing a type of nano dust, that type of a thing.
Yeah.
Intelligent fog in that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that might even almost take us into some plasma aspects too.
Yeah.
And we talked before about, and I'm sure this isn't just exclusive to ships only, how ships can process water and things to actually pull the orgone, the life energy, the plasma, AGLE energy out of that water, and then use that as a power source for anti-gravity and other things on board the craft. And a byproduct of pulling that life energy from the water is it makes this mist, this type of a fog. And some of that fog is present inside of the craft. Other they use and put it around the skin of the craft for anti-gravity purposes or for cloaking, you know?
Yeah.
And we talked about that before in the craft, the way it does that. And when I see a real old ship like this, not just because of directional emitter do I know it's real, but that void underneath this is like the 1963 East Korean UFO. But when that thing, something about that life energy, that orgone, that prana, that plasma, it has a negative effect on film emulsions. So when I see that void under there, or like here, you see that void there, it's starting, they're about to do a frequency jump and they're releasing that anti-gravity field around the skin of the craft. So eventually it's all going to go black. That would be a situation where you would see one, you would see two, then one, then that one's gone when it makes the jump. That takes us all in that quantum hologram thing again, which takes us into the plasma balls, takes us into these craft that might be plasma. They're coming from other dimensions, other vibrations, other levels. And who's to say that the technology you're picking up that's under Earth, wherever it is not producing that same byproduct itself, and they're using it in weaponized form, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At least it sounds like it anyway, you know?
Oh yeah.
So anyway, okay, so that's interesting. Okay, how about old Green Eyes?
Your favorite one.
Well,
yes.
You know, that was so, it didn't bother me like that. Now, for some reason, that night we did that, it was just so morbid. I don't know why. I guess I didn't protect myself good enough before that day.
Yeah. Well, Old Green Eyes is from the Chickamauga battlefield, which is an old Civil War battlefield in North Georgia. It's right there on the border of Georgia and Chattanooga, Tennessee. Okay, southern Tennessee, North Georgia. And it was a very bloody battle. 34,000 men died within a course of 3 days. And there were tales of bodies being eaten, the corpses of these dead soldiers being eaten, even on the battlefield during the war. it was reported that some kind of strange creature was going out on the battlefield and taking body parts and eating them, and just taking them basically. And well, they were described as eating them basically, but my data said they were taking them. Okay, like stealing body parts and stuff. And so for this target, and it's called Old Green Eyes because people to this day still report seeing green shining eyes on the side of the road, in the woods, all around the battlefield. And it's something else that's interesting is that people go there to this day to self-delete themselves, if you know what I mean. Okay, like to go die. And there's been multiple people that have thrown themselves off this like tower they have there on the battlefield and die from that. So, okay, well, and from what we know too, talking about like blood in the land and stuff, I mean, it's just kind of cursed, I guess you could say. And I have my argument is that some of these battles are like fought on places on purpose because of a ritual. That's what I think. I think that people that are in charge of these wars and stuff, I think that a lot of times they know that there's something ancient there that they want to stir up. And so they go, dare I say, sacrifice a lot of like souls there, you know, the toughest and the bravest of our society, right? And so, okay, so Old Green Eyes, some of this data, excuse me, and I also want to make another note is like I've had a friend of mine, Mike, MT Paranormal Life, been on the show. He's a paranormal field researcher, but he has made a connection to Bigfoot and dogmen and poltergeist activity as well. And like maybe some of this activity we're getting out here is not really cryptid activity, but it's poltergeist activity, kind of what you were saying earlier. Okay. And so for the data for Old Green Eyes, some of it included apparition, a Bigfoot-like creature, alternate dimension, eye shine, Bigfoot, portals, moving between portals, body parts was in my data as well as like I got the location of like hills and grass and I wrote chemicals, trash, pesticides. I don't know. That was all out there. But I was seeing, okay, so trafficking and trafficking trade was in my data right after the body parts data. And I wrote dead bodies, legs, arms, buckets, amputations. I wrote cannibals, eating, consuming cannibals, bulletproof in the shadows was in my data as well. It's kind of great. That's why you got so upset, Barry. It was really dark. And
it's definitely not my kind of party. That's for sure.
No. All right. Well, there's more. I think there's another target. I believe this is the same one. And it included in that is like a lot of portal data is there. So something's coming in and out of portals, but a watcher, a stalker, ulterior motives, something upright, bipedal, something to do with space and time. I mean, we pretty much had concluded that we're talking about some kind of trafficking, a body part trafficker with this one, which was weird. But it had marching orders. Like it was instructed to be there. Okay, instructed to be there. And
assigned, huh?
Yeah, it was on assignment. On cursed land. I actually have cursed land in the data as well. There's a bunch of other data there, but that's just some of like the key points. Bad juju is in there too. Yeah.
You know, it's so interesting because this is something that we had discussed. This is another show, but it was I had done a crossing, an earthbound spirit, and this earthbound spirit jumped the client while they were touring Gettysburg, and said that it recognized the client because the client had reincarnated, but recognized the soul configuration, but the client had reincarnated into the body they're in now. But it was their fault because this individual said they were the leader of this regiment and everyone got killed. Then Jessica, it started saying how like half of their battalion crossed over and the other half did not. And this individual did not go into the light because so many of the other soldiers did not and kept fighting again and again. Then this earthbound spirit starts describing to me, the only way I can describe it to you is that all the blood on that land and the shed has caused some type of, like in the astral, almost a time lock, which is where these people are like doing what phantoms do. You know, the phantom is that part of energy of us that doesn't cross over, just keeps doing the same thing again and again and again and again. But this described it being on a more of a deal than that, saying how they can't see anything. Their perception does not go outside of that anymore, outside of that frame, that thought process of war, and how they're still there on that level, fighting again and again and again. It's just reincarnating, like almost what in science technology, science, time science, they call a chronic hysteresis or a time loop. They're doing the same thing over and over again, but it was somewhat horrible the way this individual was describing it. And at first, it took me a while to get them to cross over. They said they couldn't, and just leave their battalion there when it's their fault, those that are still there. And I mean, it's different situations. I've come across a lot of different things now when doing that work, but that one was quite interesting. And when I asked how this earthbound spirit was influencing the client, you know what they told me? I was asking what negatively. I've made them come back to Gettysburg multiple times, and then I've given them an obsession with all battlefields, so that they'll study all battlefields so they won't forget. I won't let them forget. They won't forget. It kept saying that again and again. Okay? And in turn, when it's over, you know, they get the thing crossed over, it's through, but the client himself is just bawling, even during the session before I bring them out, because they can see how much that has that made them an obsession with war and with battle their whole life. They couldn't understand it. See? And stuff like that, you know what I mean? And it's just, you know, it's just relevant because it's suffering for not just the client, the earthbound, but those that are just trapped there in time lock and don't even know it.
Yeah.
So, you know, so when it goes to that, I imagine a whole team of people have to release that land and release those spirits, snap them out of that somehow. Bit out of my pay grade, my friend. But nonetheless, something needs to be done. And when we talk about the land holding things and the blood holding things, I think that's a prime example right there.
Yeah.
And we get so entrained and so much of our energy is going into this trauma of war. Boom, it's like the shock of death happens and can't see anymore and just keep doing the same thing again and again. That's definitely a type of hell. Gettysburg was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
Anyway, sorry, we always got all somber and quiet, didn't it? Because it's a drag. It's a genuine drag. But it's reality, you know, and it's something we deal with on this planet. And, you know, and it makes you wonder if there was something like a Holocaust here, how much worse that would even be, nuclear-wise, for those that just are still here and don't cross over, unaware of what even happened. Then there would be those that don't and do cross. But right now, it's a very duplicitous world in that way. So, anyway, sorry. So, that's hey, about green eyes, did you get the snout on that thing? Or have you heard reports of it having a snout?
Well, you know, it's interesting because it's one of the cryptids that nobody has any clue as to what it is really. And to me, it looked like more of a Bigfoot when I was remote viewing it, but some people believe it's a dogman, and most people do believe it is a Gugwe. That is the go-to, but it could be like an apparition. I mean, it could be a trickster shapeshifter as well. So, yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
And it just happens to correlate with what Good had told me about the dogmen being intergalactic traders of bodies.
Yeah.
That's a different creature, but some people doing that, yeah. And, you know, we start getting that whole slavery thing that's going on in this galaxy. It gets pretty nasty, you know?
Yeah.
And the things, and I'm hoping that right now it's really about us trying to really lock into some of these civilizations that are higher vibrationally in every way, if that we start becoming a type 1. And I'm hoping that this type of work is something that will change that. The whole revealing of the SSB thing, but even more than that, the whole nonlinear junction detection thing and holding people accountable. That's really where I think we're at right now. Concerning saving our society and our planet, if we can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, this has been great. This has been very, very cool. I'll look over my notes real quick. I think we did everything I wanted to touch on. What I'll do too is when this is over, like I said, I've got all these videos I'll put up. I've done a video over devil monkeys. I've done a couple over Gugwe. I'll put up the Dixie Cryptid thing where he interviews that Rodney guy. And you know, that Rodney guy, he mentions MK Davis on there a couple of times. In fact, I'll even tell you, I'll even put the time when the Rodney thing starts at 51:40, where he starts talking about these Gugwes and these things that are pushing the other Bigfoot out of that area. But he mentions MK Davis and how they were putting the mirrors, the cameras in the mirrors. And that's how they even caught Whitey. I think that's really good because to me, Whitey's run, it didn't look like that was really in one of the mirrors. To me, it was a lot clearer than Tall Paul and the two that were fighting each other outside of the gifting tree. And then they push each other out, and the tall cat comes up and they go running down the hill. Yeah, as he called Tall Paul. But that one was a little more blurred than Whitey's run. Or according to that Rodney guy, also the one where the cat steps over the fence. Remember that one, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like reverse pivots, like a basketball player and steps over it.
Yeah.
He said that there was something in there they were putting in those tires, and that thing was going there trying to get that stuff in the tire, and then come back out. That's what that was. But apparently that was in one of the mirrors also. Reverse. That's how they caught that one too. Whoa. So that's very ingenuitive. That's cool. I was I'll keep looking to see if there are any other, like what all different types of hair they've got that might be different than just the types of Sasquatch we're normal with. Because I'm sure that these Gugwe, maybe not the Genoskwa, I believe this one's at Duke Bigfoot Radio. He was saying that the Genoskwa he was sure was a type of Sasquatch, or at least evolved from them or before them or whatever, as to where the Gugwe is something completely different, which I think is probably maybe correct. But when you start getting into the whole concept of mountain giants, there's so many different types of them, all the way from the redhead giants. And, I hear so much, so people are just obsessed with Kandahar now. But when dealing with the redhead faction, that also takes us into Peru and dealing with those giants there and all that. And let's not forget, another blind target you did was that mountain behind Gladys Cordova's property, where all that stuff is happening. Everything from the pieces of dryer sheets moving around, flying around, that suddenly look to turn into birds and then into portals and disappear, to the weird guy walking down the mountain, the side of the mountain, to the guys that were huge standing up. Looked like they were pushing, like 15 feet tall or something, standing up by those rocks. That whole thing, and there's been long since in that area giants reported that goes far beyond Gladys Cordova. But it's little stuff like that I find very interesting. You've got the mountain giants portion that seem to be more humanoid than even Sasquatch, and you've got the others that have these tusks and these other things that I don't know what we're dealing with, the different factions on this planet, but there's been so many of these chimeras and hybrids that it's really a trip. And I'm hoping that we're getting to the point to where this is getting to be proven and not just called pseudoscience, and taking it a step further, because it's proof is in the pudding out there somewhere, like the Sasquatch genome, that whole thing. How much longer is that going to be not acknowledged? I mean, until T-Carp and Pauletti's thing, I didn't know how much further that went than Melba Ketchum. You saw her. Everybody saw her get discredited by that. They tore her up. But there was so much more that went into that whole work that anybody knows about. It's a shame because it dismantles what we know about hominids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the said, I'll
Yeah.
say it again before we get out of here, you know, is that if these are falling watchers or whatever, looking at some of their abilities and their actions, you know, I was listening to the whole thing about people that were like, Scott Carpenter says he thinks they're demonic, period. And you got others that say, no, they're not. They're like our Forest brothers and all that stuff. And I'm wondering, where's the medium ground? But I believe, as I said before, that the Gugwe, I think, have been engineered and actually instituted and in these places to discredit the normal Sasquatch and for us to ever having any type of communication with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really what that's set up to do. You know, I was listening to there was another one of those Bigfoot researchers. And he was going on about he was sure that the Gugwe didn't even exist. That it's one, people that are delusional, and two, people that are misidentifying probably mutilated Sasquatch or deformed Sasquatch. That's what he was saying. And, you know, I can't say I agree with that. You got too many people that have encountered that. It's just not wide like the normal Sasquatch. But the numbers of seeing each is going up. Even devil monkeys are starting to being seen more and more. Why? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just out there chasing them myself. So if they're being seen, y'all tell me where. I'll go look. Okay. I'll go look.
When we get out, ask people in the audience. Sorry, I didn't stay up on this as much as I should have. Anybody got any questions? Anything we didn't hit? Anybody want to say anything?
There's my cousin there. What's up, cuz? Miss Catherine.
Which one is that?
Catherine. She's your friend too.
Oh, Catherine. Thank you for being here, Catherine.
You know, Catherine. Mama Catherine.
Right on. Stephen Wolf, thank you for being here. Wow, very cool. There's a few people here. I'm always shocked that anybody's here, so I'm very grateful. And thank you for being here, Jessica. This is okay. I gotta post that one. Yeah, I finally revealed that after all these years, I've been exposed.
Johnny side.
Yeah, I used to watch. You know, I had time for that for Highlander and also Star Trek. I was a Star Trek fan, of course. I'll tell you another show I really liked. Beauty and the Beast with Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton. Yeah. You know, I was two things I was watching. I know we can go, but two things. One would be the movie Terminator Dark Fate. They had the Hispanic guy was playing something called a Rev 9, and he was both polynomadic or polyalloy, so you could be like the metal, but underneath him he had a hard endoskeleton. So like the chick throws this javelin through him, and he grabs the javelin and manifests as the liquid guy on the outside of the semi. Why behind the wheel is the endoskeleton is still driving it. I mean, but I think as far as taking that to the next level of Terminator, I thought that was really, really impressive. And another thing, so I was watching the Twilight Zone marathon, and I came across one I just hadn't seen it so long I kind of forgot about it. And it stars Jack Klugman that used to play Quincy. The show when I was a kid, Quincy. My grandma used to tear that up. Anyway, the name of the episode is The Death Ship. And what happens is these guys are they're with the Earth Planetary Society, I think they were calling it or something, but they're looking at other planets, exoplanets, for viable flora. Okay, and they're just doing it from orbit. And they wind up landing on this planet, and there's another ship there. And it's crashed. And at first, when you first see it, I'm looking like, God, it looks like their craft, you know? And it comes down to they go on board this thing and see themselves on their dead. It's their ship, they crashed. But the thing is this, though. So it stops them from wanting to lift up and take off, because that means they come back, they're going to crash and die. And you know,
That's weird.
it's so interesting the words they were using. The cat used, you remember when we were in class, we were hearing about the circumnavigation of time. And how we leave, we'll come back, it'll be a few minutes off and different. And ultimately, they're using that to why they crashed before without. It was just kind of interesting to see Rod Serling throwing that stuff out there, that far back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Sounds like some experiences with these secret space program survivors and stuff that I've talked to. They have stories kind of like that.
Well, actually, that's what it reminded me of. They've got their stuff on. They're on a mission that would be, if that was not being kept secretly, that's the way it would go down. And it very much reminded me of that, you know, to a point of where they were even like, so many of the Twilight Zones actually revolve around extraterrestrials or time travel, as what's named Stephen Gibbs had said, you know, that it's quite interesting, especially considering that Rod Serling's one of the major reasons for him making the Twilight Zone was the death of Emmett Till. People should look that up. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Do you know who that was?
Kind of. I've heard the name. I don't remember details.
No, he was the young brother was murdered for looking at a white woman's walk into a store, and he was horrible death he did. But Rod Serling was really into that, what happened, and wanted it to be more publicized, and that's one of the things that's supposed to be one of the many reasons that spawned him to make the Twilight Zone. I find that interesting.
Oh, wow.
There's one episode.
Tragic.
There's an episode called oh gosh, I can't remember the name of this one, but there's a brother who's playing a boxer named like Sonny, and there's a little kid that lives downstairs. A little kid will go around and say, "Man, you gotta believe, and the kid can like wish things true. He starts saying magic's real if you believe enough, if you wish enough. And dude's telling him, man, there's no magic anymore, no magic. And he does like a time skip. Well, it's just real interesting when dealing with stuff like that. And I hope that maybe they bring a show like that back. I was watching the thing with you and Tyler and Aaron, and I'm going to have to check. I've never seen that show, Jessica. Stranger Days, or was Stranger what?
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. I have to check it out on Netflix. Never seen it. Sounds pretty
It's interesting. I skipped around throughout the seasons because the first season is amazing. The last season's really good, and the middle seasons, like the middle ones, are okay. They're not as exciting to me as like I said, I just kind of skipped around a little bit.
And is that kind of still on the Montauk deal? Is that what that's showing?
Yeah, it's loosely based on the Montauk Project. Yeah, at Camp Hero. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And they filmed it near where I live too, in Atlanta, and all over, even like outside of Atlanta, near my house. It's okay. Look, Catherine says that Stranger Things is okay. It's all right. It's all right. I mean, it really is kind of for kids too. You know what I mean? So, but it does have some good disclosure in there. They don't show the brutality, like how bad it really got, you know, with some of it. But yeah, it's good, soft disclosure there.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. That's real cool. Yeah. Man, I want to thank everybody for being here. Wow, sorry. I can't. Connor was enslaved with Castigar, the black immortal that was laughing about the time Connor got drunk. Yeah, you know, when you go to this series, they dealt with the concept of black immortals much more. And there was one named Carl Robinson that showed up on two of them. And he actually got shot trying to run from the plantation. That's when he became immortal. And they showed how he still had a problem with racism even like hundreds of years later. It was a very, very good episode, two of them that brother was in. And there was a couple other one, Andrew Cord, the guy that saved Joe Dawson when he got blown up during the war while he was limping. So I came up a couple of times. It was always cool to see that illustrated. They tried in Highlander Endgame, but that was Damon Dash. And I was like, oh, gosh. Anyway, neither here nor there. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. Jessica, I know you're probably get out of here. Thank you for coming and being on here and helping me with this again. This was a totally another step forward for me. I never, ever thought this would go this far. You know, somebody was just a cousin and people go, man, we're watching some of your videos. I mean, some of those were 9 years old. You've been doing that 9 years? It's like, yeah, I've been on YouTube that long, man. So
and now you're doing live shows with a guest. Pulling up comments.
This is
pulling up comments. I just gotta say, like, I'm super proud of you, Barry.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I've been on like board ships and seen weird, crazy technology that I could describe, but yet these things here I seem to have such a hard time with. You know what I mean? It's like, man, barely.
Of course,
one small step for mankind. You know.
Well, I've been trying to help you out as much as I can to just kind of lead the blind leading the blind is what that is. Okay.
Yeah. Just the fact that I'm starting to be able to get on here without having all the massive technical difficulties is it's incredible.
You're doing great.
Oh man, very cool. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me on with you tonight.
I know. Thank you for having me. You've done it with me, and it's fun. I think I totally failed at keeping us on target, but hey, that's all right. I'll be better next time.
Who cares? It's fun.
And this is just something interesting to kind of to dive on. And maybe I'll do something later, which is about the other types of Sasquatch. There have been so many more than just the 4 or 5 we're used to. They're starting to be cataloged. I think it's really worth talking about, especially when we deal with them as a species that's worldwide. You know, like for my example, I always thought the Yowie in Australia was like something different, like maybe a Genoskwa or something. When I talked to good old Tom Powell, you see, he was on Pauletti's new movie or his new documentary. I love it, man. Those cats are good friends. But during that time, he had talked about that actually quite a bit. You know what I mean? So I think it's kind of prevalent in many ways that's just something that kind of goes on. So I don't know. Anyway, just good food for thought for everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everybody in the chat. And let's do this again sometime, my friend.
Yeah, it was fun. Anytime. And you're always on my channel too, Barry.
Yeah, thank you. Like I've said before, you know,
I think we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, over on my channel.
I'm cool with that. I was watching something. It was actually the first interview we'd ever done. And it wasn't even you and I's. It was just part for the conference. There's 4 or 5 of us on there. I told you on there, I said, hey, I wanted to meet you. You know, it was based on the stuff that I knew you've been out in the on the ground, as you all call it.
Oh my God, send me a link to that, Barry. I want to see that.
Okay, that's cool. Christy's got up one of those deals. I will. I'll pull it out, definitely. It was cool. I was like, wow. I had no idea that was one of your first doing that stuff.
It was probably the first time I was ever on a podcast ever. That was probably it. Yeah, I got to see that one.
I wouldn't have known that was your first conference either. So look how far you've come since then. That's cool.
I know, right?
Awesome. Yeah,
it's awesome. I'm just having fun. Listen, time flies when you're having fun too, right? So.
And that's what's important. By the way, I got to tease you a little bit. I see that I see you're getting what are you getting harassed again? Getting harassed by some haters.
I'm not getting harassed by anybody. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I saw some people said, well, really, that you're not even who you claim to be because you took your entire name from the Super Marvel comic person.
Oh, yes.
And you modeled your life behind the Marvel comic person.
Oh, man. And I didn't even know there was a Marvel comic with my name. Yeah.
Some of these people are out of their mind, man. Come on.
People are weird. People are crazy. Okay. And they obviously don't watch my shows or have followed anything I've ever done. So it's okay.
No.
It is. Hey, you know what? It's sending people to my channel. So that's good. Thanks, guys. Thanks, whoever's doing that.
Some people don't realize, actually, not everything you're doing is pseudoscience. You're doing, like, especially shows you and I have done, there's a lot of real science in there, tying up and trying to connect things. It's not all just woo-woo stuff. But people don't look into your work deep enough to know that. You know what I mean? It's easy just to say something because anything cryptid, or especially just the word Bigfoot, oh, it's like you're just in a crazy camp. UFO, oh, you're nuts. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But they're not really looking at the body of work, and it's going to stand the test of time. I promise you. So
it's just haters. That's all. We got haters. You don't have haters, you ain't doing it right. That's what I've learned. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's
a shame though. It's a waste of energy because some of these people, they're not even real people. I don't think.
You gotta give them something to talk about, Barry. Well, you hadn't had a smear campaign yet.
No, I've had a couple of them.
I've had a few.
I got some people that
always
do
fun
not
seeing
like
what
me.
they have to say.
Yeah. And you know, I'm not Generation X. I don't care. I've told each one of them, you can suck it. I'll say it publicly, and I will say it to their face. I don't give a damn. You can suck it. In fact, I will bend over, and every one of y'all can get in line and kiss my black ass. And they all know who I'm talking about. All those people I'm talking about. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's a lot more. It's a lot more than getting 100,000 people to follow you because you could go out and call in UFOs that you don't even know what's aboard. No one knows what's aboard. Or you sit in front of a Correlani camera and act like you're manifesting stuff. Look at the colors around me because I'm heavy. I'm enlightened. You're just a crook. You don't know how to treat people. Just see a lot of it. It sucks, man. But it is what it is. People in the group here got they know. They know.
Even I don't mind it. I don't, you know, honestly, I don't mind it, Barry, when people come at me and stuff. I love that block button, by the way. The block button is wonderful. Okay. And I know there may have been a troll or something in the chat today, y'all. I'm Barry's moderator. Barry, we're going to have to get you another moderator when I come on your show. Okay. Because I should have been moderating a little bit, y'all. It was okay. It wasn't that bad.
It was hard. It's hard to do both. I see now why you have a hard time. It's hard to stay on track for what you're talking and monitor, you know? I got to say this, though. Somebody I used to work with, they show so much cleavage that they've got like 100,000 followers. I thought maybe if I put on a jock strap, and start doing these in a jock strap, I'll probably get like the 10,000 watches on that, man. It's his brother.
I can't even.
He comes around in his jock strap. I'm just teasing. Well, I would never do it, man. No way. Maybe it'd be like Weird Science. I just wear a bra on my head, like Weird Science, and use my computer to manifest something.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, thanks, Jessica. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for having me. I appreciate everybody, and I'll probably see everybody again soon, and maybe you tomorrow. Okay. Thank you again. I appreciate you being here, Jessica, and thank everybody in the chat. I'll catch up with everybody.
You better wear your clothes tomorrow, Barry. No jock straps. Okay?
Say that brother was doing shows. He had a jock strap and a bra around his head, man.
What was that?
Oh gosh! I'll say, hey, I was just trying to be like Weird Science. Anyway, Anthony Michael Hall. You know. Anyway. Well, thanks, Jessica. I appreciate you. And I'll see you tomorrow the next time. All right.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Thanks everybody.
Y'all stay safe out there.
Appreciate everybody. Much love and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Peace. Bye.